What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Gordo Show, my coins and cryptocurrency newscap for Thursday, October 12th, 2017. On today's show, we're going to talk about Bitcoin. We crossed 5,000, and we've got a long road ahead of us here to all new highs and brand new goals to be had. And so we'll discuss a little bit about that and some predictions from some other high-profile Bitcoin investors. We'll also talk a little bit about Jamie Dimon, the CEO who just won't quit, or maybe he will. We'll talk a little bit about Russia and a potentially brand new LinkedIn that I'm not going to get my hopes up on. As always, the opinions expressed on this show are my own and should not be taken as financial advice. So please keep that in mind as you peruse and navigate your way through this excellent episode of the Gordo Show. All right, so there you have it, guys. It being Bitcoin, finally broke through that $5,000 barrier. Right here we go. And that sent basically all of the alts down, as what normally happens in a Bitcoin bull rush. But we were able to finally break through it last night. Sometime early this morning, U.S. time, we were able to break through. And you can see I think it ultimately capped out right around just under 5,400 US dollars before kind of coming back down here. So we'll see if this can maintain its current rush. Currently, it looks to be a little bit overbought. Now, I don't know how far it's going to come back down based on that. But you can see that the trend is still very bullish here on the 50-day moving average. It tends to stay above, and when it does creep down below that moving average, it generally pops right back up and continues onward and upward. So right now is probably a good time to move over and buy some altcoins if you're feeling like it. Otherwise, you can continue to hold the current Bitcoin pattern to see how long it's going to take and rise up. But at this point, we don't know where the next resistance point is going to be. Could be at 55, could be at 6,000, could be at 7,000, but we'll just have to wait and see. Your next support lines are probably going to be in this range here, so back down to the 4,200 area. I don't think we'll jump down there quite so early, but it is quite possible that here in the near future we're going to come back down 5,000. That tends to be pretty normal when Bitcoin has crossed into new territory and new all-time highs that, say when we crossed 3,000, when we crossed 4,000, generally we've had some pullbacks that have brought it back down into that, to that, previous all-time high, or at least somewhere back down below that new all-time high that it just hit. So we'll just kind of wait and see. But like I said, could be a good opportunity to buy yourself some altcoins if you fancy a couple of cheaper ones, as most of them are on a discount today. So be sure to do that. Actually, I think Ardor looks to be a pretty good buy. I know ARK is a pretty good buy at the moment. Let me see here. Where was Ardor? Yeah, Ardor looks to is starting to look pretty bullish here, so maintaining above that 50-day average. Good buying signals overall. Yeah, so I like what I see from Ardor. Potentially good opportunity to buy there. But the big winner for today is Bitcoin. And really, what is next for Bitcoin? Well, Trace Mayer actually predicts that the price is going to reach 27,000 US dollars here in the next 4 months, which would be pretty excellent if you ask me. Now, that would be an incredibly high parabolic jump here. So if we go and look at where 27,000 is, so here's 27. It's going to be up in this sort of area up here. If we take a look, let's go ahead and draw a little shape here. Get an ellipses. So 27, somewhere in this range, and that's what he said, February. So we'll go over here to the February time frame. We'll draw ourselves this little circle here. Let's go find out where February is. So February. So here is where he predicts this to end up being. I mean, that'd be pretty excellent overall, I would say. It'd be nice to see, Bitcoin reach this area. Now, it is possible, if we look at the overall trends and we're looking at the logarithmic trend here. So yeah, it's kind of trending in that direction. We would probably really have to take off at some point here as well overall. But you can see, it's going to take a pretty big run up here unless, basically we're going to have to stay bullish all the way there. We're not going to have too many opportunities for pullbacks if it's going to reach that number by February. But It's certainly possible. And his explanation is based on the 200-day moving average. So he put together a little sort of comparative analysis here of the 200-day moving average and the actual price of Bitcoin over time. So you can see that generally speaking, you can see what the relative price is, sort of the difference between the two. Generally he averages out about 4.75 times the moving average is right around the average of what the 200-day moving average is in comparison to Bitcoin. So based on that prediction and where he believes that the 200-day moving average is going to be by that time, he predicts that we will have $27,000 Bitcoin. Now, I don't know if I'm that bullish on Bitcoin. I would think that something in the $10,000 range would certainly be feasible at this point. On the low end, maybe 7,000, especially since we really stormed through 5,000 and we hit almost 5,400. So even at a slower bullish type of pattern, we would still hit 6,000 easily by the end of the year. But if we hit 6,000 by the end of this month, it's very, very possible that we end up getting into the 5-digit figure numbers for Bitcoin. Now, if you guys don't know who Trace Mayer is, he was one of the early adopters, kind of like Roger Ver was. Really got in at the ground level, was recommending it at just 25 cents. You can imagine how much Bitcoin he has and how wealthy he actually is at this point in time. You can see here, he recently challenged Roger Ver to a 25,000 Bitcoin wager. So that man's got some money, especially for, offering up multi-million dollar bets. So, take this as however you want. I don't, we'll only know when we get there if this is going to be an accurate statement or not. But, I think he's presented at least an idea that is plausible. Now, how realistic is it? Well, only time will tell. We in more bullish times, November 2013, when we were having big run-ups, it's possible. Same with June 2011. That was another big time when it ran up. Not obviously to the highs that we have now, but for the time, it was running up pretty high. So we're currently sort of in the midst of one of those big runs, and we may be looking at $27,000 Bitcoin. I'll keep my fingers crossed. And if that timeline works out, that is also going to work out with some of the other big predictions of $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 Bitcoin in the next 3 years. So I'll keep my fingers crossed. I'm not going to hold my breath, but all news could be good news there if things end up working out. So on to the opposite end of the spectrum. Jamie Dimon says he's done talking about Bitcoin. Bye.
Well, bye.
It's about time. I don't know where this guy gets any business meddling and putting, or why anyone really cares what his thoughts are. Cryptocurrencies are meant to be a rejection of the banking system and banking. So of course he's not going to see things, at least from his perspective, in a positive light when it comes to cryptocurrencies. So I don't get why anyone put a lot of stock in it. But then again, the mainstream masses would, of course, care. They would, of course, have a little bit more stock and put a little more weight into what he says. But, if you ask me, the guy he has no business commenting on it, at least at this point in time. I mean, he does have business commenting on it. But, again, for what Bitcoin is and what it means, being a rejection of banking, being a rejection of the traditional financial system that really is not meant to give us control over everything that and when it comes to money, I don't like what this guy's got to say. In a third quarter earnings call with reporters this morning, he said, quote, "I wouldn't put this high on the category of important things in the world, but I'm not going to talk about Bitcoin anymore." So, like I said, good riddance. I'm sure he'll talk about it a little bit more here in the future. But his chief financial officer Marianne Lake was quoted as saying that the bank is open-minded for digital currencies that are properly controlled and regulated. So, maybe looking like a Ripple, like a NEM, those types of technology platforms that are looking to cater more into this space, that would probably be where a place like a JP Morgan would go, at least at first, looking for clearing services, ways that they can transfer money around the world or to their other banks, at the drop of a hat. It doesn't involve any clearing processes or anything like that. So something there worth noting, that if you hear Jamie Dimon say anything about Bitcoin in the future, you can just throw it right back in his face and say, "Hey, I thought you were done talking about it." Speaking of other or regulated cryptocurrencies, Putin has decided to come out and say that, or at least confirm that Russia will regulate cryptocurrencies, kind of following the mix of the back and forth that we've had, whether it's the central bank coming out and saying that they weren't gonna, or that they were going to ban cryptocurrencies, or at least cut off access to online cryptocurrency exchanges, and then Russia, or at least Putin, coming back and saying not to hamper cryptocurrencies. It's been a bit of a back and forth here between those two groups, and ultimately Putin again has clarified that regulation will be on its way in some capacity. He said, quote, "We have agreed on the finance minister Anton Silonov said, quote, "We have agreed on the following. The state should regulate the process of issuing cryptocurrencies, the process of mining, the process of circulation. The state should head this situation and regulate it legally." So that's a good sign that at least as long as cryptocurrencies that they deem to be proper or legal in the country, at least then individuals will be able to come in and take part in the system, through their own proprietary online exchanges that need to bend to those rules. But that's a good sign, at least, that they're not going to outright ban them, because as I've said before, at least as I said when I initially reported on the central bank coming out against online exchanges, the last thing you want to do is limit cryptocurrencies or limit the accessibility to them, because it's going to just put you behind the eight ball even further. And last I checked, Russia wasn't the grand superpower that it once was, at least in terms of innovation and call it economics. The country still kind of struggles here and there with certain things, and like I said, the last thing you want to do is potentially risk a chance for a new company or someone over there with a new idea to come up with a great new product or a great new innovation or a great new company that can ultimately help and be beneficial to the country. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily what Putin wants, is for the underlings to come up from the masses and take part of something that is revolutionary and could change the lives of many who are getting involved at this point in time. But still good to see that he is coming out again in favor of it. Now, that doesn't mean that everything is going to be out of the woods. It's certainly possible that they come back and limit them again, or maybe they open it up and they limit it so much that it's not even worth it. Only time will tell, really. But again, at least I think this is a pretty good start, or at least a pretty good idea for Putin to come out and be in favor of at least regulating cryptocurrencies so that others can get their hands on them and take part in this all new economy that is coming up. And lastly, Science Incorporated, which is a sort of a think tank type of company. They what is it? The disruptive media marketing and brand building company that creates, invests, and acquires and scales successful digital companies, have come out to invest in. They launched their first science blockchain portfolio company, Springroll, which is the first professional reputation network powered by artificial intelligence and blockchain to eliminate fraud from user profiles. Now, this can be thought of kind of a maybe it'll go hand in hand with LinkedIn. Maybe it'll be its own type of LinkedIn. LinkedIn is of course the professional network, the professional social media website where you can put up your online resume, for example, give endorsements, verify information, apply for jobs, so on and so forth. Now, what this would be able to do, or give users the ability to do, is or employers and employees. So employers will be able to verify work experience and education, give real meaning to endorsements. So if you are, say, someone who's going to give an endorsement, this would say lock that in, and also reward endorsers in the cryptocurrency through those smart contracts. So this might be good for maybe the freelance type of community. I don't see this being something that would ultimately replace a LinkedIn, even with the incentivization to come in and give endorsements and things like that. I just don't see how this could necessarily replace that. So I think it's good in intention. I don't think this is probably going to be a good idea. I don't think that the coin will necessarily be worth too much unless you can somehow reward companies for actually putting their jobs up, making hires through the system, and conversely charge companies for using the platform. You have to even get to that level in the first place, like LinkedIn had to do. Kind of as it grew in a social network, it was able to then charge to access to sort of the fire hose of information, or the fire hose of database information that employers could then go and access and reach out to potential employees, try and get them in touch with other companies and do hiring and recruiting and headhunting and all that stuff. So just thought it was interesting to look at another interesting area of where a use case for cryptocurrency could exist, where we have that incentivization, the idea to really incentivize people to come in and use something. That's really what cryptocurrency is going to start turning into, a way for companies to incentivize human beings to come in and use whatever it may be, or participate in an economy to distribute the centralization or decentralize everything and make the trustless environment that we all look and hope for. But only time will tell. But I thought that was an interesting one to take a look at. But ultimately, like I said, I wouldn't trust it at this point in time. But hey, who am I to say what happens at this point? So that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Gordo Show. Thank you for tuning in. If you thought this information was useful, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you have any comments, questions, I said anything wrong, be sure to let me know in the comments. So until we hit 27,000, well, maybe not until then, but until tomorrow, be sure to disregard fiat. Well, back it up. Until tomorrow, be sure to do your own research, disregard fiat, acquire Bitcoin, and we'll see you then. Take care, guys.